And everybody, welcome to the very first episode of Red and Gold Kingdom. I'm Jason Patterson. I'm super excited to get this thing launched, get this thing off the ground. And I want to bring a lot of coverage to Northwest Arkansas, from Northwest Arkansas, regarding the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is the whole reason why we're doing the podcast. Also, the stories that are going on KNWA and making sure that, all the Chiefs fans here in Northwest Arkansas are getting the love that they need. They should. And, let's look at it for just a second. I also talked about it with Chip Souza that, Cowboys are kind of a curse word in that sense. And we've had so much, Dallas Cowboy coverage over the last so many decades that, the Chiefs are good. They've been good for a while. And quite honestly, they're really more in the middle of a dynasty run at this point. And Chip also kind of talks about that too. And we're going to get to that here in just very quickly. So just real quick, again, it's called Red and Gold Kingdom. Also, make sure to follow on Twitter or on Facebook, Instagram, or on all of the platforms. And we want to make sure that everybody's getting the coverage they want. And so also there's the Twitter handle. You can also make sure to go on to that and follow us on there. Also, I wanted to hear from you. Please send in your questions, comments, concerns, anything that you've got. We want to hear. I'll also answer those, put those on screen, and make sure that you're getting the love as well. So let's get down to it. Topics of the day today. So it's draft week. This is a really, really big week for not only Kansas City Chiefs, but also the participants that are in Indianapolis that are taking part in the 2024 NFL Combine. You've got all 32 teams. They're all over there ready to scout these guys. And let's look at this for just a second because, quite frankly, the Chiefs have done extremely well in the draft over the last couple of years. And, let's look back at 2020. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he kind of panned out, kind of didn't, but not like Willie Gay, Lucas Niang, L'Jarius Sneed of all things. Those guys really kind of took the ball and ran with it. And that's why you see such a young defense that's so good. 21, they hit on Nick Bolton, Creed Humphrey, Noah Gray, and also Trey Smith kind of hang out there. But let's look at what they did in 22. And this was a large class, but this class I think has been the most impactful for the Kansas City Chiefs over their huge run that they've had over these 5 years. Let's look at this. Trent McDuffie. From the 22 class, Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, Sky Moore, kind of, it's still kind of the jury's out on Sky. Leo Chenal, another name that you heard all through the Super Bowl and all through the playoffs. Also, a guy named Isaiah Pacheco. I think you kind of know who that guy is. But then you look at the 23 draft, you've got Rashee Rice, which I really think that he is going to really pan out well for the Chiefs. He really started to take the bull by the horns in the second half of the season. Also, Condre Coburn, didn't see too much from him, but the one guy that I think you see him out there, Felix Adunike-Uzoma, him, and also, hold on, I got to pull my stats sheet up here real quick. Charles Omenihu. Those two guys were so impactful with Chris Jones on that defensive line. Now, I know that Omenihu came on the NFL Network this morning talking about how he's wanting a raise. He's wanting to, have his impact met with in dollars. He only played 11 games this year. Again, because of the suspension the first of the year, missed the first 6 games because of personal conduct. And so I don't know if you're going to see him hold out. That's a possibility. We'll have to see where that goes. But, I think that I would have to say probably the biggest thing that the Chiefs are going to be looking at this year, the first few months of free agency is to make sure that they are getting, these two guys, Chris Jones, maybe even L'Jarius Sneed, paid. And so we'll just have to definitely see how that kind of works out. So, I want to also talk a little bit more about Sky Moore. Mecole Hardman. He talked about how he's not going to be interviewing with the Jets, and you might see him come back with the Chiefs. And sometimes the grass is always greener on the other side. Could be, might not be, don't know yet. But I would have a hard time seeing if Mecole Hardman actually goes anywhere else after the experience that he has had with the New York Jets. And I just don't see that happening. So we're going to take here a quick break, and we are going to get into it here in just a minute with Chip Souza. And you guys are live with the very first episode of Red and Gold Kingdom. I'm Jason. And everybody, welcome back. Now, we're going to get Chip here online. And this is a conversation that I had with him yesterday. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. And this is Chip Souza.
The kingdom rules, man. It's all about the kingdom.
It sure does, man. I'm telling you. We've talked a bit about this here last couple of weeks. And, whenever I started kind of looking around as far as social media goes, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, there's not a lot of Northwest Arkansas support for the Chiefs, yet you see Chiefs fans all over the place.
Well, Jason, I live in Bella Vista, Bentonville, Bella Vista, and you see a ton of Chiefs fans up here, and there are groups that get together, and they do have Chiefs watch parties at the couple of places in Bella Vista because, we're right on the Missouri border. I mean, my house literally is maybe a mile and a half from the Missouri border. And so, I guess maybe I'm just fortunate to be up with my people, so to speak, up here. Yeah. But it's all about the Chiefs. And if you've ever driven through Bella Vista and into Jane, Missouri, as soon as you cross the border there where that Macadoodle's big liquor store is, there's a big Chiefs party bus that sits there in that parking lot. Yep. And it's, so I kind of consider this, I don't know if it's the gateway to the kingdom, but it's definitely on the trail to the kingdom, up here in Bella Vista.
It is. And, for years and years, and I know you can attest to this too, this area has been really dominated by Cowboy fans.
Don't say that, man. That's bad words, man. Don't say that.
I know those are ugly words. I'm telling you, whenever I was growing up as a kid, if there was a Cowboy game on and a Chiefs game on, the Cowboy game was on. And then if it was on NBC or CBS, that was an infomercial now. I mean, it was, you kind of grew up, indoctrinated in a way to being a Cowboy fan. But now you've had so many transplants coming to Northwest Arkansas. And not only are they, from different parts of the country, but they also root for the Chiefs too. And I would say all of them, but a lot of them do. And it's because, one, they win. They have a great organization. They have a very likable roster. They have a very likable coach that a lot of people can also connect with. And, they're able to identify with the Chiefs more so than the Cowboys.
Well, full disclosure here, I grew up just outside of Dallas, born in 1961. So the Chiefs, the Texans, were still in Dallas when I was born. And my dad was a life insurance salesman in Dallas. And in the off season, some of the Dallas Texans guys including their backup quarterback, Mike Livingston, they sold insurance in the off season because back then they didn't make the kind of money that they make now. They didn't make those millions that they make now, and so they had off season jobs. And so he got to know Mike Livingston, and then the Texans, and then when they made that move to Kansas City, my dad, I remember when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, he was like, the wrong team left Dallas, and they should have stayed, and and all that. But I was a Cowboys guy growing up, and I loved the Cowboys, when I was younger, because the Texans had moved to Kansas City and were the Chiefs. But I tell people that my relationship with the Cowboys is like having a girlfriend or someone that you just kind of drift apart over time, and you're just, you just kind of love them a little bit less and less every day until you're like, I just don't have that feel for this franchise. I need to, I'd like to go back and do something different. And I kind of went back to what my dad was, and he always liked the Chiefs and Hank Stram and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? That's going to be my team. And Jason, when I made that move, I mean, it was pretty soon after Joe Montana had decided to go to Kansas City. So it's been that far back. But man, we were bad for a long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
There was a huge there was a huge gap really between Len Dawson and Joe Montana. Honestly, there really was.
Yeah.
And you just didn't see it. And then all of a sudden you get a guy that went to won 4 Super Bowls with the San Francisco 49ers, and now he's in your backyard. It really, honestly, it reinvigorated the entire fan base, not only Kansas City, but the surrounding area.
Yeah, it did. And, the Chiefs were kind of a little bit of an afterthought. They were such a powerhouse, when the franchise first started, and then in the AFL, and then, they won their first Super Bowl, in 1970, and they were, a phenomenal powerhouse, organization. And then, then Stram, he left, and it just we went into a dark hole for a long time, and it just took a long time to get out of it. And I do credit Montana for kind of pumping life back into the fan base and the organization. And we got better, not championship level, but we got better. And then we had another dark period, the Romeo Crennel days, and that was kind of dark at that time and everything. But I am enjoying this. I know it's not going to last forever. I'm enjoying this ride right now, and because I know that it can go the other way, and it will go the other way at some point. We know that's going to happen. So I'm enjoying this right now.
Yeah, I really feel like over the last, I would say, honestly, 10 years, really, you've kind of been living in the golden age of Kansas City football.
No doubt.
Because, after Romeo left and he went down to the Texans, and you still had Alex Smith on contract, and then you bring in Patrick Mahomes, honestly, there hasn't been a real drop-off, not only in offense, but also really in defense, too, that has perpetuated the Chiefs' success. Now, there was a couple of years that were kind of downtrodden, but then they were able to bounce right back up. They were able to right the ship. And, you have to really credit Clark Hunt for all of the maneuvers that he's made over, the last 10 years to really, he's been building this organization, him and a couple of GMs between here and there, but they've really been able to start to, as they build, they're stacking. They're not taking a step backwards. So whenever they're able to, you're starting to see that stack go up. I think that's where you're starting to see where this is all starting to paramount.
Well, give Brent Veach a lot of credit. He and his staff have done a great job in the draft, in the NFL draft, the last, starting with Mahomes and making the trades to move up in the draft to get a guy, a generational quarterback, but you take a look at the last 2, 3, 4 drafts that he's put together. That's the nucleus of this, the Super Bowl teams. These last 5, 6 years is they haven't gone out and spent money on signing big time free agents. They've built their team through the draft. They're, predominantly homegrown guys. Last year they had a couple of receivers, Juju Schuster and, whatever. And those were those are signees. But by and large, the nucleus of the team is Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Willie Gay, L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, all drafted guys.
Yep. And, I want to bring this up really quick because, like I said, the NFL announced that they have increased the salary cap by $30 million from last year to this year. That's an increase of 13.6%. And Patrick Mahomes has restructured his contract. We talked about last year, he was a $37 million cap hit. Once it's all said and done, it's going to be right around 20, I think is what we were talking about, somewhere in that area.
I think 20, somewhere between 22 and 24 million is what his hit's going to be. So basically, Jason, what it boiled down to is this year was your year to get the Chiefs. This was your year. They had to sign wide receivers from garage sales, basically. They had I don't know how many rookie or first or second year players playing in key positions. Kelce was hurt basically the first half of the season, if not more. Chris Jones was a holdout. I mean, everything was there for you to get the Chiefs this year. This was going to be the year, and it didn't happen. Now all of a sudden, the salary cap is.
Might have lost Chip there for just a second, but the salary cap definitely with the expansion.
We can retain these guys. We got a lot of maneuverability now, and that's not good for the for the rest of the NFL. It's just not. I mean, we're sitting here primed to make a Patriots style, run.
And that was Chip Souza. You can also catch our entire interview on Spreaker, also on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Google, and Spotify as well. So here in just a bit, we're going to come back, and it will be our new segment called the Swifty Spotlight. So y'all stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a moment. And everybody, welcome back. This is the Swifty Spotlight. So I want to kind of go over just, tour dates that she's on right now. Also want to, if there's any Swifties out there, we'll do shout outs to as well. If you guys want to join the show or put your 2 cents in, plugs or any whatever you want to do, we'll put it on the show here real quick. So tonight she is in Sydney, Australia at the with Sabrina Carpenter at the Accor Stadium there in Sydney. Then she's going to take a couple of days off, and then on Saturday she'll be at National Stadium in Singapore, and she'll be there for quite a few days. I'm looking at right now, and she will be there through March 9th. So you got about a week to see Taylor over in Singapore. Then of course, I mean, she lives the crazy cool life of traveling all over, because then her next stop is in Paris, France. And so it was really cool to see Travis get some time to be able to, follow her and her touring as she was able to follow him during the NFL season. And it was really nice to see that, because, I mean, you have all the detractors and the naysayers out there that, they want people to, sometimes not succeed because maybe something's going on in their life that may not be the best. And they try to pull people down, but I don't think so. With this, I want to see them succeed, and it's really cool to see all this happening. And so, that's kind of where we're at with that. So if you guys want to chime in on the Swifty Spotlight, we'll always be able to put you on here and put your comments and questions on here. So without any further ado, we're going to take a quick break, and next we're going to be bringing up NFL free agency, because we're right in the thick of it. And again, this is the Red and Gold Kingdom, episode 1. And everybody, welcome back from that quick break. Now we've got free agency news that happened over the weekend. And it was a little, I wouldn't say head scratching, because it all makes sense, with the cap and how kind of things are broken down with that. Because Tommy Townsend was going to be, if I'm not mistaken, he was going to be a $2.6 million cap hit if he was to stay on the 53-man roster. And so it looks like he's out the door, and the Chiefs have signed and battled punter Matt Araiza. It's his story is really, I wouldn't say unique. It's something that is very sad to see both parties and how everything was played out. But he was alleged with being part of a gang rape, that he actually was found not to be actually in the vicinity or even in the area where that happened at the time that it happened. Last month, all charges were dropped against him. He dropped his defamation lawsuit against the lady in question. And that kind of paved the way for teams to come and make offers to him, because at that point, once all the charges were dropped, NFL took him off the exempt list, and he was able to enter free agency. The Chiefs do not have a lot of financial, I guess you want to call it, really, they don't have a lot of, they're going to take a big hit if this happens, because if it doesn't pan out, he doesn't make the 53-man roster there, he accounts for a 0 cap hit, but if he does make it, he'll be due a league minimum of $795,000. Reason why he doesn't get any more is because he hasn't actually seen any game action in the NFL since he was drafted back in 2022. So at that point, you're bringing in a punter that is a little question mark-ish, I guess, because he hasn't played. You don't know what you're getting. He could be a real big bust, or he could be a really big boom. You don't know. I do see, though, that the Chiefs will bring in another punter, maybe through free agency or maybe after the draft, undrafted free agent, something of that nature. But I do see that they will have at least 1 to 2 punters brought in for competition. So also the other signing over the weekend was former Mizzou Tigers safety Tyree Gillespie Thursday. He was a 6th-round pick to the Raiders and spent time with Jacksonville over the summer, and then was on the Chiefs practice squad in 2023. And we'll have to see where I would say he's more of an insurance play at this point, and also probably going to see more time on special teams, because let's face it for just a second. I was looking at this, and Leo Chenal spent 72% of his plays on special teams. Also, Drew Tranquill. They also spent. Chenal had 40% of his snaps were on defense, on top of special teams. You want to bring a guy in that can kind of alleviate some of that off of those guys, Chenal and Tranquill, and because those are two big, guys that are on special teams, but have really contributed throughout this last Chiefs run to the Super Bowl here in 2023. One of the other things that I do want to talk about really quick before we get on to the NFL draft and combine for just a second is Chris Jones. I know that I had wrote that he's looking at possibly a 4-year, $125 million contract that will make him the highest paid defensive lineman in NFL history, eclipsing the 4-year, $95 million contract that the defensive lineman for the Rams had garnered. Name escapes me off the top of my head for just a moment. But anyway, you're going to see Chris Jones. He is going to be the highest paid defensive lineman when it's all said and done. And with the increase in the cap space that you can see on the scroll down there, I think they might be able to get some things worked out after they, rework the Travis Kelce contract, they rework the Patrick Mahomes contract. I don't know if you can get Willie Gay. Maybe you might not. But they've had some really great success on the defensive side of the ball through the NFL draft. And so we'll have to see exactly where they go, because, you also want to bring back L'Jarius Sneed as well. Again, he might go, he might stay, just depends, because at this point he's had 3 rings, and maybe it's time for him to just go get his money. So, with that being said, today starts the NFL Combine, and it will wrap up on March 4th. Now, this is where I think the Chiefs are going to be able to really make some money on this, because over the last 4 years, they have really been able to clean up in the draft. I don't think that you're going to see them go the wide receiver route. They've tried that the last couple of years. We've had 1, maybe 2 guys that have kind of panned out between Mecole Hardman and then Rashee Rice. The Chiefs have some cap space that they can go out and they can get maybe not a number 1 wide receiver, but maybe a number 2 and make him a number 1, kind of like the Patriots have done over their Super Bowl runs with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And you see that T. Higgins was signed to a franchise tag today, so that takes him off the market. That was one of the guys that I was looking at that, the Chiefs might be able to get. I wasn't sure, but maybe even a Tyler Boyd. Him, I don't see Mike Evans. I just don't see it because of the money that he's in the command. There's no way that you can sign Chris Jones, Willie Gay, L'Jarius Sneed, and Mike Evans all in the same. There's just no way. I don't think that there's any room. You want to keep that defense intact as much as possible, and then go out and get a mid-level wide receiver. You've looked at Sammy Watkins in the past. You've looked at Juju Smith-Schuster. They've had okay runs here, Kansas City, and then they've moved on and kind of went into oblivion a little bit. I still think that the Kansas City Chiefs can bring in a couple of solid wide receivers to upgrade that position and create more opportunities for Patrick Mahomes, because let's face it, Travis Kelce needs help, and that's where they're going to go. So this is the 2-minute warning, you all. We're going to get out of here very soon. So thank you all for jumping on with me this afternoon. This has been our first episode of the Red and Gold Kingdom here on Spreaker. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, you name it, we're on it. You can also see the when we get out of here, you'll also be able to see all of the platforms that we're on too. So I want to make sure that you guys are getting the information that you need. Make sure to read all of the great stories that I have. I'll also share those on Facebook and Twitter that I post on KNWA here in Northwest Arkansas. So I want to say thank you all for jumping on. This is our first show. We're going to have some great guests coming up here very soon. Also, on Wednesday, there was a media distribution email sent out that there will be new renderings of the improvements to GEHA Field in Kansas City. So Wednesday, be sure to look out for all of those new pictures. As you can see with the Kansas City Royals moving to downtown, the Chiefs are going to have a little bit more room to expand maybe and kind of renovate. So be on the lookout on Wednesday right around 10:30, 11 o'clock after the press conference is over with. You'll start to see the renderings start to float out on Facebook and on their website, kansascitychiefs.com. So make sure to go check those out. So I want to say thank you all for jumping on today, and go Chiefs.